I may be old-fashioned, but murder is against the law. Strangers on a Train wasn't just a thriller about two men and one deadly idea. It was Alfred Hitchcock's dark mirror of obsession guilt and the seductive pull of evil. Behind the camera, chaos erupted. A stunt went terribly wrong on a carousel spinning out of control. Hitchcock hit a shocking visual trick that audiences never spotted, and one of his actors was literally drunk during key scenes. This is the story behind the shadows. The story of 20 weird facts about strangers on a train. Stay with us and let's step aboard the train to madness. Number 20. Hitchcock almost didn't make the film at all. Warner Brothers originally wanted him for a light-hearted project, but he saw potential in Patricia Highsmith's dark debut novel. It wasn't love at first sight, though. The studio refused to buy the rights until Hitchcock secretly sent his agent to do it under a fake name. When Highsmith learned the buyer was Hitchcock, she realized she had been paid a fraction of the price she could have asked. It was cold calculated and typical Hitchcock strategy. What audiences didn't know is that this deception birthed one of the most elegant thrillers ever made, turning a simple chance encounter into a masterpiece of psychological tension. Number 19. The tennis scene wasn't just visually strange, it was a technical breakthrough. Hitchcock wanted the audience to feel the unease of everyone's head turning in unison except one. To achieve that hypnotic effect, he used hundreds of extras rehearsing their synchronized movements for hours under studio lights. The result was eerie perfection. The one head staring directly forward belonged to Robert Walker's chilling Bruno Antony, and that simple gesture terrified audiences more than any scream. It was the calmness of evil surrounded by the blindness of normality. Hitchcock proved once again that horror didn't need blood, it needed precision. Number 18. Robert Walker's haunting performance as Bruno came from real turmoil. Walker was battling severe alcoholism and emotional breakdowns from a failed marriage to actress Jennifer Jones. Hitchcock used his instability deliberately, instructing crew members not to comfort him. The result was authenticity that felt unsettlingly real. Walker's charisma on screen hit a man collapsing off it. Tragically, he died only months after the movie's release following a mysterious reaction to medication. The line between fiction and tragedy blurred forever. His portrayal remains one of the eeriest performances in cinema history because it wasn't entirely acting. Number 17. Farley Granger, who played the innocent tennis star Guy Haines, struggled with Hitchcock's control. The director demanded dozens of takes for simple gestures like lighting a cigarette. At one point, Granger walked off set, exhausted. Hitchcock didn't yell, he just waited silently until Granger returned. That was his power, psychological domination masked as calm authority. Granger later said Hitchcock treated actors like pieces on a chessboard. The irony was that this cold detachment created some of his most emotionally intense films. Strangers on a Train wasn't about murder alone, it was about manipulation, on screen and off. Number 16. The film's most dangerous stunt nearly killed a man. During the climactic carousel scene, Hitchcock insisted on using a real fairground ride, spinning at deadly speed. A camera operator crawled beneath the moving platform to get a low-angle shot. When the mechanism malfunctioned, the carousel spun out of control, throwing extras across the set. A police officer risked his life by crawling under the ride to shut it off. No one died, but Hitchcock kept the footage because the chaos looked perfect. He called it divine coincidence. The scene became one of the most terrifying in his career because it was real. Number 15. Hitchcock didn't trust luck, so he storyboarded every single frame of Strangers on a Train. His notes were so detailed that the cinematographer, Robert Burks, said they were like blueprints for a machine. But that precision came at a cost. Hitchcock refused to allow improvisation. Even the movement of cigarette smoke was planned. He wanted shadows to behave like characters. It wasn't spontaneity, it was architecture. Each frame clicked like a gear in a clock counting down to murder. That obsession made the film eerily mechanical, yet hypnotic. Watching it feels like watching fate tighten its grip, and that was exactly what Hitchcock intended. Number 14. The carnival scene's mirrored reflections weren't just artistic, they were Hitchcock's secret message. He used real mirrors and double exposures to symbolize duality, the killer and the innocent trading identities. Technicians had to carefully angle glass panes to avoid showing the camera. One slip would have ruined the illusion. Hitchcock even scratched parts of the film stock to give certain reflections a ghost-like shimmer. Viewers didn't realize they were literally watching layers of deceit projected at once. Strangers on a Train became a study in reflection, not just of faces, but of morality itself. Number 13. Ruth Roman, who played Guy's love interest, wasn't Warner Brothers' first choice. Studio heads wanted a bigger name, but Hitchcock insisted on her subtlety. Still, he made her life difficult. He refused to explain her character's motivations, and often gave cryptic directions like, "Just look frightened of nothing." She once asked why, and Hitchcock replied, "Because fear of nothing is the hardest to act." That strange, cold method created a performance that perfectly matched the film's theme of invisible terror, the kind that creeps in when logic disappears. Roman later admitted she never truly understood her character until she saw the final cut. Number 12. Music was as vital as the dialogue. Composer Dmitri Tiomkin argued with Hitchcock constantly over tone. Hitchcock wanted silence during key murder moments, but Tiomkin believed in dramatic score. Their battle got so heated that Hitchcock removed half of Tiomkin's work without warning. The tension paid off, though. The final blend of music and silence built unbearable suspense. The audience wasn't guided by melody, they were trapped by absence. When the merry-go-round crashes, the music doesn't explode. It collapses. That contrast became a hallmark of Hitchcock's future thrillers, proving that silence could scream louder than sound. Number 11. The film's most haunting image, the strangling reflected in a fallen pair of eyeglasses, almost never happened. Hitchcock invented it after seeing an assistant accidentally drop his glasses during rehearsal. He realized the reflection could capture the murder without showing the act. It was a masterstroke of censorship evasion since the production code forbade explicit violence. Technicians used giant magnifying lenses to create the effect in camera. No optical trickery, just precision and patience. The result was one of the most unforgettable shots in cinema. A murder seen through glass and guilt. Number 10. The film's murder scene at the fairground was so intense that Hitchcock used psychological tricks on set to make it authentic. Actress Casey Rogers, who played Miriam, was terrified of being strangled. Hitchcock didn't comfort her, he heightened the fear. He had the camera zoom closer each take and whispered instructions about her killer's hand placement only to her co-star, Robert Walker. She didn't know what to expect. When the scene began, her panic was real. Crew members later said she nearly fainted once the camera stopped rolling. Hitchcock called it perfect realism. He didn't want actors to act, fear he wanted them to experience it. This philosophy became part of his legend. The idea that horror wasn't just filmed, it was lived. And that's what makes Strangers on a Train feel so disturbingly real even 70 years later. Number 9. Hitchcock's daughter, Patricia, appears in the film, but her presence caused unexpected drama. She plays Barbara Morton, the curious young woman who becomes fascinated with Bruno's story. Hitchcock pushed her relentlessly demanding perfection. Co-stars later recalled that he was even harsher with her than anyone else. He made her redo scenes long after they were fine and criticized her expressions in front of the crew. Some say it was tough love, others call it cruelty. Patricia later confessed that working with her father was like living under a microscope. Yet the result was haunting. Her calm, unnerving presence mirrored the audience's curiosity about evil. In a way, she became the film's conscience, the only character who truly saw the monster beneath the charm. Number 8. Behind the polished visuals lay real tension between Hitchcock and Warner Bros. Executives. The studio demanded a conventional ending with the Asuyambaisi hero publicly clearing his name. Hitchcock hated it. He wanted ambiguity, a train disappearing into the night, leaving the audience unsettled. But the studio won, forcing him to add a tidy resolution. Furious, he secretly layered irony into the final shots. The smiling faces look rehearsed, the laughter hollow. It's Hitchcock's quiet rebellion captured forever in celluloid. What looks like closure is actually mockery. Strangers on a Train doesn't end with justice. It ends with discomfort disguised as relief. That subversive touch turned the movie into a critique of moral simplicity hiding under the veneer of Hollywood endings. Number 7. Robert Walker's wardrobe was designed to blur sanity and elegance. Costume designer Renier chose light suits and ties with playful patterns instead of dark villain attire. It made Bruno Antony appear charming, approachable, even stylish. Hitchcock knew evil looked more dangerous when it smiled. Walker's appearance created a new kind of movie villain, refined on the outside but rotten underneath. Even his walk was choreographed to look too smooth, too rehearsed. Crew members said Walker practiced that glide across the floor for days. Every movement was part of Hitchcock's larger illusion that madness could wear a polite face. That visual irony inspired countless thrillers after, from Norman Bates to Hannibal Lecter, all descendants of Bruno's immaculate menace. Number 6. The tennis match scene almost didn't make it to the final cut because of technical nightmares. The constant camera pans tracking the bouncing ball caused severe flickering when projected. Hitchcock refused to simplify it. He demanded a new lens configuration from Warner technicians who thought it was impossible. It took weeks of trial and error to balance the exposure with the blinding stadium lights. When it finally worked, the result was hypnotic. Every head in the crowd turns left and right in mechanical rhythm, except Bruno, who stares straight at Guy. It's not just a scene, it's a visual symphony of paranoia. Viewers didn't know they were watching a feat of engineering as much as filmmaking, a perfect blend of obsession and innovation that defined Hitchcock's genius. Number 5. Few people know that Alfred Hitchcock personally designed the film's most suspenseful prop, the lighter. To most viewers, it was just an object of exchange between the two leads, but to Hitchcock, it symbolized moral contagion. He demanded that the prop team create dozens of identical lighters until one reflected light exactly as he imagined. It wasn't about realism, it was about hypnosis. The gleam of the lighter in Bruno's hand became a visual trigger for guilt itself. During close-ups, Hitchcock used hidden spotlights to make it shimmer unnaturally bright so that audiences unconsciously connected it to temptation. This small metallic object carried the whole film's soul, the transfer of sin from one man to another. It was Hitchcock's idea of theology built from brass and smoke. Number 4. Hitchcock's relationship with Warner Bros. Soured so badly during post-production that he refused to attend early test screenings. The studio panicked when preview audiences called the pacing too slow and demanded faster cuts. Hitchcock ignored them. Instead of reshooting, he subtly trimmed microseconds from each shot. That microscopic editing made the film sharper, more relentless, without changing story beats. When it premiered, critics praised its precision, unaware they were watching a silent rebellion. Hitchcock believed control wasn't just in what you filmed, but in how you refused to compromise afterward. Strangers on a Train became a turning point. It proved that the director, not the studio, could dictate the pulse of suspense. That quiet victory helped redefine creative power in Hollywood for decades. Number 3. Behind Bruno Antony's chilling smile lay one of cinema's strangest inspirations. Hitchcock modeled Bruno on a real socialite murderer from the 1930s named Leopold Loeb, whose charm masked brutality. He instructed Robert Walker to study Loeb's photographs, not his crimes, to capture the contradiction of elegance and evil. Even the dialogue hints at aristocratic boredom turned violent. Bruno doesn't kill for money or revenge, he kills for amusement. That psychological realism terrified post-war audiences who were used to clear villains. Hitchcock showed that the monster could wear silk gloves and dine at the same table as you. By grounding fiction in reality, he made evil more human and therefore far more terrifying. Number 2. The film's visual language inspired countless imitators, but few realize how experimental it truly was. Hitchcock shot many scenes from unnatural angles, beneath staircases, through grates, behind railings, to give the audience the sense of spying on private corruption. The result was both intimate and claustrophobic. Cinematographer Robert Burks used deep focus lenses to trap characters inside their own environments. Even crowds felt oppressive. It wasn't just a story about murder, it was a study of confinement, the prison of one's own conscience. Every reflection, shadow, and railing was deliberately positioned to feel like a cage. Watching the movie today, you don't just see a thriller, you feel surveillance itself pressing against your skin. Number 1. The final fight on the carousel wasn't acted, it was chaos. Hitchcock wanted a real mechanical failure and almost got more than he bargained for. The massive ride was powered by a motor strong enough to crush steel. When it broke loose, the centrifugal force turned the set into a death trap. Extras screamed, technicians dived for cover, and the camera kept rolling. Instead of cutting, Hitchcock shouted, "Keep shooting." The wild spinning horses blur into madness while the characters struggle for control. That wasn't staged, it was survival. No other director would risk that level of danger for authenticity. The scene became the perfect metaphor for Hitchcock's world, where control and chaos always collide. Bonus fact in a twist of irony: Alfred Hitchcock himself became haunted by strangers on a train. After the film's release, he began receiving letters from fans offering to trade murders, just like in the movie. Some wrote detailed proposals, others sent names. Hitchcock kept the letters in a private drawer, joking that life was now imitating art. But in truth, it unsettled him deeply. The film had worked too well. It had proven his theory that suggestion could be more powerful than violence, that the idea of evil could spread like a whisper on the wind. Strangers on a Train remains one of the purest expressions of cinematic tension ever crafted. It wasn't just a thriller about two men meeting by chance. It was a study in temptation, power, and fate. Every frame carried Hitchcock's meticulous touch, every silence hummed with menace. Even now, its shadows still move long after the train has left the station.